by showing you this place value chart. So here we have a place value, and we already know everything. We're comfortable with everything to the left, right? We know the ones, tens, and hundreds place. But we also have place values to the right of the decimal, which represent numbers less than one whole. So if we're over here, anything to the right, that means something less than one whole. Our first spot, or our to the very right of this decimal, we come to the tenths. And we call it tenths because it is 1/10 of a whole, right? So if a whole is, let's say, 10 tenths, 1/10 means that it takes 1/10 of a piece to fill up to out of this whole. Then we come to a hundredths. That means there is 1/100th out of the whole. Okay, so it's really important that we understand the value of all of our place values. So I'm going to start off by showing you this number, 4.72. Now, how I would read this number, I would say this as 4 and 72 hundredths, okay? Now I can think about each digit and its place value. So I'm going to come to the first number, which is the 4. Well, the 4 is directly to the left of the decimal, so it's in the ones place. So that can be represented as 4 times 1, which is the same as 4. To that, I'm going to go to the next place value, which is directly to the right of the decimal. It's the tenths. Well, there's 7 tenths, so I can represent that as 7 times 1/10. Okay, now I'm going to go to my next place value, which is the hundredths place value. Remember, there's 1/100ths. There's 2 of them, so I can show that as 2 times 1/100th. I have 2 of these 1/100th pieces. 7 times 1/10 is the same as 7 tenths. 2 times 1/100th is the same as 2 100ths. So this is one way to represent this number in expanded form. We can also show this with actual decimals. Now, fractions and decimals are really the same thing. They're just represented different. This is what I mean. So again, I go to my first place value. It's in the ones. There's 4 of them, so I'm going to leave that the same. To that, I'm going to go to my tenths. Well, 7 tenths can be written as 0.7 because the 7 is in the tenths place. Then I'm going to go to my hundredths. Well, there's 2 100ths, and 2 100ths can be written like this in decimal form. The 2 is in the hundredths place. So this is how you would write it in expanded decimal notation. Please pay attention. We don't use decimals when we're talking about whole numbers. So anything to the left of the decimal, these are whole numbers, and we don't represent them with decimals. So I'm going to give you, another thing is, what if we have a 0 in the placeholder? So for example, if I have the number 2.06, well, how I would say this is I would say this as 2 and 600ths. Again, I can think about each digit and its place value. So I'm going to come to my first number, the 2. The 2 is in the ones place. So that's the same as 2 times 1, which is 2. Then to that, I'm going to go to my next place value, which is the tenths. So there's nothing there. It's a 0. And we know that 0 times anything is just 0. So it doesn't have a value. We don't even have to represent it. We're going to skip that. Then I come to the hundredths place. Well, I have 6 of them. 6 times 1/100th is the same as 6 1/100ths. Okay, here's how we use it with decimals. The 2 stays the same because it's in a ones place. Plus, and then I'm going to represent 6/100ths as a decimal. Okay, notice that I put the 6 in the hundredths place. Okay, well, the important thing to remember when we're expanding decimals is you need to think about the value of each digit. So I'm going to show you another example. So the number 502.6. I would read this as 502 and 6/10. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and expand it. The 5's in the hundreds, so that is 500ths, 500. Plus, well, I don't have anything in the tens, so I'm going to skip it. Then I'm going to go to the ones. Well, there's a 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then I'm going to come to my tenths place. There's 6 of them. So 6 times 1/10 is the same as 6/10. Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to keep this the same, 502, plus I'm going to write 6/10 though as a decimal. So the 6 is in the tenths place.